Opening and closing. Do I have like a mod side? Doesn't belong, maybe. Game mods. Oh, these are all the same ones I've been using.
Fuck, I can't have gummy candy either. I just remembered. Oh no!
Haha.
I'm forced to have chocolate, and I had too much chocolate already. So what to do? What to do? Las Gaga dessert. Let's see.
There we
I
go.
don't care about these Snapchat reels. I want to see actual dessert places, please. Baby.
It's the baby. Did OBS crash? Okay.
No, red velvet cake looks pretty good, but it's pretty thick. So
Alright. Finding
Sears
you.
says pastry shop cannolis.
Oh, it does that.
Gigi cup. There's gummies on top of this ice cream.
He just wants gummies.
Ugh. I mean, Sour Patch Kids. Oof. I don't know if I could have
uh,
that, but I mean, it looks good, but like it's too much for me. Cookie Smash Small. So it's like a milkshake with a crepe in it. Okay.
it's a Val snack.
Anyways, I'm gonna send this to Val and be like, look, it's for you. Tiramisu cup.
Delicious.
Yeah, let me just send this to Val.
Delicious. Okay. Chat. Shit is very slow.
Oh, I was like, why won't it let me move?
Did we do a knock-on or we just stopped here? I don't even remember.
Nope, we stopped here. That's why
Okay.
we came back around. Oh, I see. Wait, is that who I think it is?
Where? The
In
bottom?
the... Oh no, that's a plant. Never mind. I thought it was. I thought it was that for a second. Damn it. Oh fuck. My finger slipped. Game? Oh, okay. I'm moving.
My fingers, but hole.
Okay. Well, now we have the full set, I think.
That's the Melania
Yes.
set, right? Oh no, D.
No, that's whenever you see twin, it's D. Oh, I almost jumped into nothingness. Whoops.
No, I don't think we
Ooh.
do.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, like the last time we played that. Basically, had the full seed or the full set.
Yeah, we only have the gloves and the chest.
And the what?
And the chest piece.
Ah, that's what I thought. Alright, I guess I'll have to get chocolate chip cookies.
Divine Bird Warrior Ornis.
Orange.
Would summon. Orin.
Orange. Damn, that blood loss is insane.
Bleed?
Blood. There's nothing over here, is there?
Just a plant. Instead of butterflies.
Yep. Oh wait, there's nothing up there. It's just a silver tear husk.
Yeah.
Which I assume is just like shed skin or something, right?
Yeah, from the slimes.
Yeah, which is weird.
Oh, black knife print. You fuck.
Wait. Oh god.
Oh, why is it him?
Looks like magic might be the way. Take this!
Oh yeah, let's see what that does to him.
Take this!
Oh, there we go. Staggered. Hmm.
See ya!
Too slow. Too slow. Slow.
Yeah. Now, goodies. Alright, where should I get a chocolate chip cookie from, though, is the question.
Just get it from Subway again, forehead.
Oh, they have like the worst, though.
I know. He said you don't like it. I don't
Yeah,
like
no, not really.
Oh, hands. Wait, didn't you order your Girl Scout cookies? Did you eat them all that quickly?
I ordered them a long time ago, and I finished them a long time ago.
Jesus. I thought you ordered
It
like
was-
enough.
I mean, there's small cookies that come in like, that's not too many of them either.
Yeah. Oh.
Is it because of Mario, he says?
Oh, right. Jesus, the blood loss is insane. I forgot, we're really just pure DPS.
He's gonna be like, that's not a crepe. And I'm gonna be like, that is a chocolate crepe. What are you talking about? If not, then what is it, Val? You tell me you're French.
Oh, no, sorry.
French.
Crepes on this, not that.
Yeah, he's gonna tell me what it is exactly, because French people know what every single, like... What the hell?
What shot?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit at the Grace, okay?
Alright.
They know every single, like, pastry imaginable because they made them.
Yeah.
Wait, but let me bust out my cool new spell. Hey, Val. He's snaring. Die. Die!
Die.
Yeah. That was the high-pitched one.
Oh, watch out. There's a...
Oh, game? You can't fool me, game. Perish now.
Perish now. I tired.
Fleeting microcosm. What is the spell?
What spell?
The fleeting microcosm. Like, I've never seen this spell ever.
I know it's from the finger
And
man. I just never see anyone.
Yeah, like, you just don't see this shit anywhere. Alright, there's nothing over here. We remember this. We know all too well that there's nothing behind. Just this. This is pure ass.
Yeah.
Yep. Take a look.
It is short path. Well, that means we finished this area.
Yeah. Just by Julie Williamsburg? No, but this is a lunch place. Insomnia, there's Chunky Bites, which had a decent cookie last time.
He said it was
But
too
it's still,
expensive.
yeah, exactly. But Insomnia Cookies has a $4 delivery fee, so it's like, well,
Damn.
where did we go? You said the DLC, right?
Oh no, yeah, I was
I
just saying maybe wants us to
I
DLC up.
I forget what was I saying yesterday. I mean, yesterday, the last time we played. I think I was like, "Oh, it's either here or yeah, it is at the DLC." What was the other place I brought
Kaled.
up?
Because we didn't
Okay,
really
yeah,
do Kaled.
that's what I thought. I was hovered over Kayla too. I'm like, wait. Yeah, let's go back to where we were. Um, actually, yeah, we were just basically doing everything except for the gay tunnel
Yeah.
and Fort Gay. Do you want to do Fort Gay?
Yeah, we can do Fort Gay.
Okay. Chip City. All right. These chunky ass chocolate chip cookies that are $7.70
Oof.
for 2 cookies.
For $7? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That should be 3.
I know. I was like, it should be 3. Why do they keep showing us by like the depth of the cookie? I don't care. Show me the top of the damn cookie. I can see how deep it is from, or how thick it is from that alone. And then you proceed to give me like the smallest like circumference cookie in the fucking world. By showing me how thick it is for $7. Kill yourself. I have to stop saying that
Yeah.
before YouTube says, no, you can't
No.
have a channel anymore. What hit me?
No, you get copy. Or not a copy. You just get a strike. That's a
Yeah,
no-no.
that's no good.
I thought that was a
Die,
Ash Award boom, but it wasn't.
Val. Thank you. Who is still alive over here? A Chazzy.
Oh
and
yeah,
Anna.
we
Okay.
got the item behind Fort Gay.
We got the item behind it, but what about the items inside of it?
I think we might
Oh, I
have.
think we've been here.
Yeah.
Oh, we have been here. Whoops. I'm thinking of the other one by the dragon. My bad.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking of.
dragon.
Alright, well. Chick-fil-A, Eva's Sweet Parlor. Or Iva's Sweet Parlor. Cookies, $5.50 for 3 of them.
That's a little bit more reasonable.
3 freshly baked cookies is
At that point, though, you might as well just go for the McDonald's.
buy one, get one free, add 2. So then, oh, hey. So wait, I'm gonna get 6 cookies for $5.50.
Huh.
Wait, but they don't show me what they look like.
They're gonna be some fucking thin ass cookie.
I bet. They only show me their tres leche dessert cup, which looks okay. Then they show me sugar donuts, which look okay but kind of small. So I'm kind of not vibing with it, but like, oh wait, no,
No.
no, I'm not buying from here. You want to know why?
Why?
Because they
charge
use a
fees.
bunch. No, they use a bunch of white sugar,
Oof.
which means that they don't make brown butter chocolate chip cookies. Fuck.
I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Yeah, brown butter cookies are peak. They're the best. Man, I can't find a good cookie anywhere. Shit.
What does that have
They
to
all
do with
suck.
it?
What?
So that's Val's response.
Okay, so Val, picture. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, you went up there.
He's not in my
Picture.
chat or yours. He wrote that on Discord.
Oh, he's talking about Discord. Oh,
Yeah.
What does he mean? What does that have to do with it?
He's not a real French person. Exposed.
Well, no, he's just lying. Like, what are you talking about? It's a crepe, isn't it?
Oh, near Bugman, there's a bear. It's not a
Okay.
roan bear, but it's just funny. Went from T-Rex dog to bear.
Did we talk to this dude?
I don't think we did.
No, we did. He asked if we were finished yet, and I didn't get a bell bearing from him.
Oh.
It's indication enough. Isn't there another graveyard around here?
Oh.
We did not. I feel like there's another graveyard around
I'm
here
getting some
somewhere.
horrible frame drops in Celia.
Oof. Now, what could be there, I wonder? Man. Ooh.
Isn't that a cookie?
Isn't that a cookie?
Bro, yeah, that's what he said. It's a cookie with the crepe. Or made in the style of a crepe.
Oh, I see. It is a cookie.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is causing all this lag over here. But it needs to die.
Please leave me alone.
Got not.
Alright, anyways. The secret. Whoa. Then I will tell you. So, are you killing everything over in there?
A little bit.
The first thing I see was the maiden or the virgin killer.
Yeah. Yeah, I avoided him. Which turns out those things are very weak to lightning, and if you hit them 5 times with lightning, it always staggers them.
Bubble boy spinning, so small.
The seal was broken.
Oh, seal was broken.
I hear the beetle. Where is it? Where?
Since I'm over here, Rykard's Great Rune. I was correct. I was correct already. I've been proven right.
Like, trying to
Now can I get doubly correct?
Can we get a good great rune?
No, we got Rykard's.
Damn. Only card.
Although
What
I forget
big
what
enemy
does.
is? Oh, I see.
Game, really? I take my hand off the controller for 2 seconds and the horse takes the widest turn imaginable.
I missed. Tough. Let me go and shotgun him up close. No way.
Did you kill the beetle?
That's what I'm trying to do. There we go. that my shotgun wasn't reaching.
Ugh.
No reach.
Yes, okay. Can we finesse it again? We can!
Oh.
Fine,
I
nice.
killed what was causing most of the lag. It was a fucking bird.
Of course. It was a huge bird?
Yeah. But I think the rest of it is coming from this fucking grafted scion.
Where?
It's on the bottom.
I think I got all the items on the roof.
Oh, gavel of Hein. Where was the Rykard? Is it the golden
It was
seal?
in one of the chests!
Oh.
It was in one of the chests.
Oh, you did all the seals?
Huh? Well, no, you did.
I only touched one. What?
It opened all three. It said that a seal was broken. Like the moment I entered the town, I was like, "Oh wow, he did it that fast."
Oh no. That,
Yeah, it said it again.
oh, that means you
Oh,
went.
it's doing it for all the different three.
Yeah, that means you went to the
Forgot about that.
right one then.
Well, I never even touched it. You did.
No,
You just went to the one that I was right
yeah,
in front of, which is
that's
fine.
what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant. Went to the one that
That's
as soon
actually
as
really
I broke the seal, you're just there.
I'm in front of the next one too. Funnily enough.
I guess I'll get the last
Alright.
seal. Jump.
Can you move? Click. Clack. You're done. See ya.
Are you fighting the grafted scion?
Well, I killed that guy already, but
Oh, I'm sure he was really weak. There you
nice. And as I got to the last one, you broke open the last seal again.
go. You said Rykard is okay. He's one of the
is
chests.
in the one where like the area to the far right where like
Yeah.
all the Burger King heads are normally in the game.
Yep.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Burger King head. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Da-da-dum, dum, dum, dum. Alright, I guess I'm gonna get him in 70-50s then.
Two. Oh,
Yeah.
gold. Wish this was convergent.
Green cookies au cream? What?
Mint. It's probably
Plus
just
25. I mean, let me look at that cookie real quick.
I don't know why my frames are terrible.
Cookies and cream cookie filled with marshmallows. No thanks. Vegan double chocolate chunk. I know I'm gonna get double chocolate chunk because chocolate chunk is actually really good. Super 6 or 6-pack? Oh yeah.
Bro,
What?
fucking dog. Die.
Yeah, the chocolate chunk is actually really good. So I'm just gonna get the
Val
rest of
said sure. But you said.
it. $5 tip. Alright.
Oh, I think what's causing the lag is like the fucking boss. Whatever the boss is.
You ready? Kicks down door. Hi. Hello.
Already? Damn. They work fast.
Well, I don't know, cause that's different. But yeah, let me know when you're here.
I'm coming. Oh wait.
So I can touch grass.
You can touch grass. I think I got all the items in there.
What were you saying?
Oh no, I was saying I think I got all the items.
Yeah, me too. I've come to steal knees and OCs.
What?
Nani? Alright. So... let us fight the boss together.
They'll go together.
Oh, it's not death? I
No.
can't tell because it's just dark as fuck.
No, yeah, it does look like sus as
Like-
fuck. But yeah, it's not death.
Oh, come on now.
Sorry.
Oh wait, Dumpy. I forgot.
Yeah, he
They summoned
summons
Dumpy.
Dumpy.
But it doesn't matter because... he's-
Bleed!
Yeah. Easy.
Junk.
What was it? Junk? Of course.
Really junk.
Why am I not surprised? I took like a little bit of HP. A little bit of HP of damage that entire fight. It's just like a little snicker. I know the word snicker isn't normally used to like describe little, but I'm pointing at that, so
Yeah.
everyone else must do the same. Yeah.
Do it now.
Isn't there an
Oh,
item around here somewhere?
yeah, in this house. Wait. Maybe. Oh no,
Right,
this
I thought
one
it was
over
in
here.
Oh, I see. Rancor call. Okay, well, I made a good call, I would say. But- and last I checked, you ain't got knees, so hand over an OC. But what does that mean? Sound with Banks on 2.
Oh right, we were trying to get to other forts.
Yeah, wait, oh right, we have to go up that other way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
Die! Yay.
Bang.
Okay, so once we're done with this fort thingy, we can go back to... And here, let me just... Let me just... Oh shit, wait, you have to get my back. Never mind.
Oh.
It's okay, it's okay.
Did you see that?
Yes, that was
Oh
great.
my god, it teleported to me.
What the hell?
Why did he
Second.
teleport? Wait, did he block?
He did teleport all... He teleported all
I'm
the way
dead.
up to you. What the hell?
Kill her.
How?
Kill
What
her.
killed you?
Kill her.
Who? Oh, her?
Yes. She did a quick succession, like 3-piece arrow combo, and it killed me.
Impregnated.
Good.
Alright. Yeah, I was gonna say we should go to the tunnel that leads us to Rykard's thing.
Oh yeah.
Just so we can at least activate one. I'm not sure if it counts if it's not activated or not.
I believe it does.
If it's not activated? Oh my
Yeah.
god. Okay. Where are you? Bastard. Why can't I target?
For some reason it spawned me
Nice!
all the way at the
Nice hitbox! Nice hitbox. I'm at work and running on like 2 hours of sleep and no food. I'm not even trying to function right now. Oh no.
Oof.
I feel that. I think, what was it, Monday? I was working on like an art piece all night and I went to sleep at 5 a.m.
Oh my god. No wonder I saw you just like up all night.
But I'm here. Yeah, I was.
Cause I
It
went to
was
bed
brutal.
pretty late on Monday. I think it was like 2 in the morning, but I was like, damn, Gay's still up.
It was for a birthday present.
Well, my
Oh,
flesh, it is a curse.
And I was so late anyways, but
If my flesh,
my flesh.
I wanted, I was determined to make this thing. Sounds like me. I'm working on commissions when I have the time to do one.
God, watch out for the dragon. Oh.
Which dragon? Oh, I see it.
That's just I think it's an actual Caleb dragon.
Yeah.
Oh god, and it has a bird next to it as an ad. And a Tailu? Oh my god.
Yikes! Okay, let's not go that way.
Let me in!
Bell pepper. Wait, but who? Mystery person Bell Pepper VT. I feel like. Wait, I can't remember. Were you in my chat like oh god. Like a while ago? I feel like you were. Wait, where's the town? Or the town, the hole.
The hole?
Yeah, where's the hideaway?
Right
It's
here.
like right behind this. Oh, here. But I'm here to listen and point and laugh because I can't play Elden Ring. Oh well.
Pain.
This gameplay is not so good, so there's gonna be a lot of that. Let me see. Okay, actually, wait, plus 24 isn't the highest, right? It's plus 25, right?
Yeah.
Why are they both at plus 24?
I think because we were both being cheap with our somber stones.
Maybe.
Or just smithing
Charge
stuff.
spells and skills.
Oh, because I don't think we have any ancient dragon smithing stuff.
Oh, yeah. And let me just... Yeah, let me put this on. Godfrey icon... What does it exactly enhance about a spell and skill?
Only if they
Can't
charge
remember.
up. It makes them do more damage.
Right. So, I guess... Does this count as a charged spell? Or skill? Let me see.
No, it'd be more like Sword of Night and Flame and shit like that.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, so let's get rid of this and put on the Shard of Alexander instead. Why do I have 2 Sacred Scorpion Charms? What?
So do I.
Okay. Interesting. Raises item discovery, I guess.
What would boost the Ash of War is Shard of Alexander.
Yeah, that's what I put on. Isn't there more effect related stuff? Raises potency of incantations. Wait. Lower equipment load. We should try using the Dancer Charm at some point.
True.
Alright, let me just sit here.
Naked Man Run.
Yeah. Just use a wretch and then
Yeah.
do that. Wow. Ah.
They're like a wall there.
Right there. Nope. I guess there was nothing in here. strange. It's all for nothing, just for one enemy.
Oh, there was a wall like that.
I think you're thinking of the wrong one. Are you thinking of this wall?
Yeah. Oh, what the heck he was.
Me neither. Ah, yes, this dungeon.
Oh!
I almost knocked you down! No, come on, there's a bird down here too!
Oh, he had a thing. Oh, fuck. Watch out, watch out.
So quiet! Oh my god, leave me alone!
Alright, asshole.
Wait.
He won't stop
Oh my
spamming
God.
it. He won't stop
I'm
spamming
so
it.
far away. Well, that's fine, because now you can hit him, right?
Alright, he's gonna be annoying. Hold on. I got something for him.
Oh my god. I'm shocked I didn't die from the fall.
I'm shocked too, actually.
I got that straight. And I really wasn't supposed to fall down anyways, but okay. Oh, come on now.
Let me, and I
Oh,
get this, right?
Do you hear what's on the other side? And it's strong too. Of course I fell down.
Is it strong? Yeah.
Yep. Don't follow me, but that's okay. The bear can't follow me. I don't think he can without pushing himself off. And the collision of the game might make it so that because it can't live the fall, it won't fall off on its own. Therefore, there's another wall protecting the enemy, so it can't.
This
get
guy
past.
is like in the absolute worst spot. I hate it so much.
Both annoying boss-like enemies are in the worst position right now. That sucks.
I'm trying to kill him. I guess maybe I could throw shit at him. Literal shit.
Woo!
Bro, stop spamming this. I'm right in front of you. I'm dead.
I wish I could get back. I can't go anywhere.
The worst part is, I don't think it's a poop one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, it's a holy one. But I literally... Okay, I'm gonna have to just take him out.
Thank God for blood loss. Thank God for blood loss. The reason I keep going into attack, by the way, is because if I use the ranged attack, he's going to breathe breath at me, and that's going to kill me. So
What? Oh my god, Elden Ring moment where you just whiff on an enemy that your fucking hitbox is hugging. Like, okay.
Oh no.
I just died.
Oh no, he's attacking me. No. Oh wow, he actually just won't let me in.
He's one hit too. Killed me with 1
Is he
HP.
really?
Yes. So if you just
I'm
throw
dead.
like a rock.
Oh shit, I'm not dead.
I'm coming back. I'm gonna kill this fucker. Like, they would put him in the worst spot, like just tucked in a tiny ass corner.
Oof. Oh god. Ha, bear attack. It's dark, I can't see. I know, I apologize, but that's the game.
No, you're not. You're not.
There's nothing I can do about
You're
that.
not butt slamming.
Did you kill it?
Yes.
Oh, no, you did, yeah. My god, I tried to jump at it and I just barely missed and whipped it. There was a room bear in here, by the way.
Oh, did you kill it?
I did kill it, but just... My god.
Oh,
Motherfucker took my vision. Yeah, that room bear was not playing nice, unfortunately. So I had to make it play nice.
one of
this
these
way.
also a hidden wall for
No, it's on the other side.
food. Oh, it's on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I always make the same mistake. I'm like, isn't there a... Nope.
They look too similar, that's why.
I know, yeah. It's once you go around the bend of the rock here,
Yeah.
that's when you're on the other side.
I guess in the room bear was like here or something.
The room bear was as soon as you got up from the crystal that takes you out of that pit.
Oh my god.
It was right there. I was like, why is there just fur here? Bye, Chaz.
He threw him.
I wish I threw him off. Oh, there it is. Goodbye, Chaz. Die.
Chaz wondering why he gets so much.
Oh, yeah, see, it's right here. It's underneath. Underneath.
Oh yeah, it is. With the
What
valve.
about the Emeralders?
Oh, you don't have the seal breaker.
No, we don't. The Emeralders.
Uh-huh.
God, that was so fucking stupid. There's one notable thing about Black Butler. There was like a special where, I think the author of the Sherlock Holmes series visited CL's home,
Oh.
and there was a murder mystery going on. And CL had to have, Sebastian kill this dude. But they all played it off like they didn't know what was going on. And so the only guy who doesn't really know is the author of the Shakespeare books.
Oh.
So I can't remember his name for some reason for the life of me. But like he's speaking normal ass English, like like modern English the whole time.
Isn't this going
And then
back?
randomly, is this? I'm pretty sure this is forward. No?
Oh,
Yeah, this is
okay.
forward. And then just out of the blue, randomly, he just delivers this line that makes him sound Swedish, speaking like with a Swedish accent. And it's like, what the fuck?
Maras.
Mario Darius. Like it sounded like he had something in his throat as he was saying the word murder. Oh, there's a wall here.
Yes.
This is it. Is this what I was thinking of? No.
No.
That talisman is honestly kind of useless.
It really is. Like, it's so niche.
Oh no.
Oh. I thought it was just a regular fucking.
Are you ready to be blood lost, my friend? You are.
Roar.
Random Switzerland, exactly. I feel like we're missing something else.
Me too.
I feel like I remember jumping, like platforming across these to get to some place or something like that.
Is that the other crystal cave?
No, maybe.
Yeah, no.
I guess I'm wrong. Because last time I checked, I think it was over here. Yeah, I think there's nothing here. We're good. There's an item over here, yeah. I might have gotten it already. Chaz? You hit
Block
me?
that.
Like you always wanted, Chaz. Okay, well.
Two valves? Damn. He missed me? Not slick.
Oh, okay. This is the hardest boss in the world.
Man, so hard.
I forget you planked off of his body.
Oops. Oh,
Goodbye. Why couldn't I heal? Oh, I ran out of heals. Okay.
wish it was staggering. Yeah. And take a fireball.
Game? Oh, come on now.
It wouldn't let you stab him.
Nope. Ooh.
Ooh.
Blood Lost City. Blood Lost City. Hello and welcome to Blood
Interesting.
Lost City.
Oh.
Oh, man. Monster Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not a first time player. That's what I thought. I need to heal.
Fast healing.
Well, I was gonna like touch the graves because
I
I've got
know.
no pots either.
I know. I just wanted to see how fast it stacks. And I bet if you throw
Oh,
a
yeah.
warming stone too.
Oh yeah. Level up. What did I say I was
I
gonna
can't
level up
even
again?
level up.
My mind or something?
I think so. Like a 4.
I'll level up to like 30 and then stop.
You have another pole arm
Huh?
to use with the pole blade? I don't think so.
What'd you say?
I was saying, do we have another like pole arm to use with the pole blade? But I don't think so. That's literally our only
No.
one.
Oh, go to the left and upper head is up here. Like rather, when you jump up, jump to the left.
On the big
And
rock?
upper head is. Yeah. Well, actually, I think this is a skull, but even still,
Oh yeah,
what the hell is offer head up here?
a bunch of them. Ooh, piercing throw. That's a pretty good Ash of War.
Gerald's dragon barrel.
We can probably kill her because we're just
Yeah.
blood loss.
You mean just like attack her specifically?
Yeah. Oh!
No. This should really just destroy our eardrums, by the way, but the game doesn't do that. It what? Oh wait.
Yeah, like I already blood lost.
Meanwhile, I'm fighting against all these fucking dogs, dude. Die.
Yeah, she's gonna. Dead. I'm sorry, big dragon.
Oh. Thanks.
Hold up. He thinks. Oh, I was about to say. Oh, oh, he was the dragon enemy.
Yeah, they're all dragons. All of the enemies around this one are dragons.
Oh,
So when one another dies, all of them die.
I was gonna fucking hit him with the torch because he's not immune to that, even with that
Nope.
thick ass skin.
Give me strength. Alright, it's time to put more pots into HP, which I haven't done yet. I've sat this entire time not doing that. Ooh, another level up, yay.
That's literally one. Oh, I guess I could.
Oh, we do have a decent amount of physics. Heading your way. Did your order arrive? I don't know.
Oh,
Because you don't feel the tracking. Okay. 8 heals and 6 magic refills. Instead of 5 heals and 9 magic refills. For some reason I had that.
Kate
For
thought
a
he was
long
gonna be
period
a
of time.
mage of some sort.
No, I think it was just the Ash of War that I had at the time that was broken.
Oh.
Val. What's with the rod, Val? Eat some Val, it'll be okay. Did my order arrive yet? It says no.
No.
Not that I see. Usually when I say that, that means that like they have their own delivery service, which is interesting.
Oh.
But since when did Insomnia Cookies have their own delivery service? I almost didn't make that. Alright, it's time. You can fly, but you can't fly now, can you? It's time. You're not dead after that? Really? Someone beat their horn. That's crazy.
Beep beep.
Meanwhile, the road is clear. I guess they just went. Hello, rat. Have it your way. Damn, he's just barely out of the way. Why is this not working? Damn it. Oh, what? It didn't even give it to me. Oh, you think you're crazy, huh? I was about to punish him from that.
What was he about
Can
to
you get this
do?
guy? His shield broke. Oh, shit,
Oh,
it's this
fuck.
guy.
No, that guy was out of range. Hurts, doesn't it? Fucking yells fire at people and now he feels fire.
What? Huh? Please look at this guy.
What? He was floating.
Well, that's because he was on an invisible ballista.
Yeah, what
That's
the
still
fuck?
there. Why am I on here? Alright, we might as well sit in this.
Oh, I wanted to meme.
Yeah, which way first? This way?
Yeah, what the fuck? It really is just an invisible ballistic. But
Oh, shit.
and you can't break it. Oh, okay, never mind.
You broke it?
Yeah.
Rolling sparks.
Hmm. Val!
How dare you dodge my attack? This is dog.
Stupid dog. It's blood. Blood.
That shit was so funny.
Is that it? Did we clean this place out? I think.
I think so.
Come
Game, please.
Left a guy alive.
What about the guy who's like, they'll never find me?
Is that here? I think that might be a different
Is
one.
it here? Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, I think it's like near the shaded castle now.
Yeah.
Dead. Where's the way out? I think that's the way in, but I could... No, this is the way in. So the way out must be over here. Yes. Yes. I'm gonna jump out.
Already did.
Okay.
Alright, well, that was other fort.
Yep. Saw your crystal tunnel and saw your Everjail, which I believe is on the ground now. Or maybe it is on this side. This, I hate this area because it doesn't look like a canyon at all.
It doesn't. It just looks like a fucking, like,
Tumor on the map.
yeah. Just a big crater.
Yeah. I remember when I was first trying to figure out this map, I was like, huh? Why can't I just go straight? Why is there a wall here? Because it doesn't look like a wall at all.
It doesn't.
Thanks, Elden Ring.
I'm surprised no one made, like, better maps.
Yeah, true. But it's a lot to cover
Yeah.
as one person.
Yeah, and
Also
I guess
learning to do
everyone
the
just got used to
photography.
it.
Yeah. Like, I could see a random spot on an Elden Ring map and be like, okay, this is wherever.
Yeah. Oh,
It can be ultra
thick
zoomed in.
beetle. But it's a cerulean flask.
And guess what I need?
Sorry, you die. This fly trying to be an ad.
Wait, fly?
Oh, you don't see him?
I saw him just then, but I didn't see him inside of the thing.
The Cocoa Puffs, right? I have to.
Cheap viewers on Streambo or streamboo.com. Remove the dots, remove the space. Okay. How about this? This is what I'll remove.
Move the stick from your mouth.
Zamur? Zamur. Zamur Zamibi. Zamur Zamibi. Zamur Zamibi. Zamur Zamibi. Why am I not?
What the fuck was he doing? He was just standing like, ooh.
I don't know. The real question is, what was I doing?
Wow. Your bread and butter.
Boom. Boom. Yeah, but no longer. All right. That's done. So I guess now we just go, if Cellular Crystal Tunnel is on this level, then we just go to that. If not, then we go up the hill. Looks like we go up the hill. Oh yeah, it's right by the town. I forgot about that. To the town.
Any day now, Elden.
Well, I guess I'll see you at the site.
Is
At the
I don't know
shack.
if it like froze or not, because it's just stuck
It
on like 99%.
it might be frozen for you. Might be Jover. Arrow's Reach Talisman.
There we go. It just took a minute.
It's not Jover. Good. Biden Blast.
Biden blast.
Yeah, damn. There's no one took anything seriously in the past like 10 years, huh?
Huh.
Ugh. And it's still not over.
Ooh.
We have another 3 years to deal with this damn president.
And then we'll get someone worse.
And then we'll get someone new, but also someone worse.
Meanwhile, Trump is gonna keep talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. I don't know why he says billions like that.
I don't know. But, you know, he likes to expand things.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
No more politics.
I didn't talk to him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that merchant.
Oh. Oh.
What's ballista bolts? Or black steel twin blade?
Both, but also pulley crossbow.
Oh.
I can have that as backup for when shotgun isn't the way. Also, ancient death rancor. So I think we have that already, right?
Nope, I don't.
Oh. Also, golden arrows. I might buy those for when I use that other bow.
Yeah, he's got 3 infinite arrows, which is pretty cool.
Oh, and regular arrows? Holy shit. How much are, like, max regular arrows? No, actually, I could afford that. But the arrows just in case. Never need holy damage of some sort.
Goodbye now.
He's dead, no.
I'm going to take my game design seriously again, finally.
Oh,
I'm gonna move to Gato though instead of using Unity because Unity was taking too long to load. And
oh,
also just the amount of things that I needed for it constantly was really annoying. And then I looked up that apparently Godot is just better for
Yeah.
2D games anyway, so
yeah, it is.
and Unity's for 3D games, but
And then
that's
that
why I
means
use
you can
Unreal Engine.
you can compile a universal version of the game and have a native Linux version.
Oh, on Godot? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would like a Mac version of a game because there's not enough of that.
Oh, there really
It
is.
would be like the most like easy thing to run, and then
I wish I had a Mac
No,
just to
no.
test something.
oh, what you want to test?
I saw that apparently Like I knew Black Ops 3 had a Mac version, but apparently you can
God,
make
yeah.
it run like properly and have crossplay between Mac and Windows, and also like
Mm,
mod it correctly.
mm.
And plus,
There's another game that has a Mac version I'm thinking of.
I'm curious to just see how the fuck Black Ops 3 would run on a Mac, but you would need like a pre-M series Mac. Pretty sure it won't.
Pre-M series?
Yeah, like you know their M1 chips and stuff.
Instead of using M1 chip, you would have to use something else?
Yeah,
Really? How come?
because it's the versions before that were running on like a 64-bit processor,
Oh, I see.
whereas I mean they still are, but I mean like now they're running on ARM chips. So
Yeah.
oh right, I need to go down to the Offerhead family.
Yep. Just be careful.
Well, you died, and it is now daytime,
Good.
so now you
Now I
can see.
shit.
Yeah.
Bell bearing right bird? What?
What?
No, get me off the horse!
Oh, I'm dead.
That is so...
So the game just said
He
fuck
trapped
you.
me on the horse. He trapped me on the horse. I couldn't get off.
Giant Seal, Golden Rune 9, Golden Rune 3,
That's... I
Malformed
can't
Dragon
stand
Greaves. But the game said no.
I even have time to react. Or get off the horse.
It was a data fight, okay?
Yep.
Arrow Reach tells
Now
me.
you can deal with it.
Yeah, he's about to fucking die to arrows. Undead. Is he even still there?
I just lost all my runes. Oh my god.
Oh.
He might be, I don't know.
Yeah, he still is. He's just roaming on your body.
About to die for no literal reason and lose all your runes cheaply.
Like, the game really just said no. Why is there a rune bear?
Rune bear.
I'm gonna just let him be. Because if he joins the fight, it's over for me. I can't lock on to the Death Bird. Okay, there we go.
Where's the rune bear? I don't see it.
Oh, it's this one?
Yep. It's the DLC one. They didn't fix the bug with the stamina. Huh.
Bro, stop moving. Look at you trying to cheese me out. You fuck.
Why does it go so far?
Why does it move that slow?
What?
That like slam. Ow.
I'm not sure.
Oh my god, he hurts.
Yeah, he did all of my HP in 3 hits.
Nice try. Okay, that's cheap. That is super cheap. I'm dead. How did I not get it?
I don't know. Also, hello, Mega IO.
Do you like this standoff we're having?
Yeah.
He's like following me, like, bro. I wish I had a stronger bow. That was like plus 25, but oh yeah. Get out of here. What?
Yeah, you didn't.
Fucking crab keeps stealing my lock on.
Your order is running behind. How am I supposed to do that?
Come, open your heart.
The guy just got here, and of course he's delivering it to the wrong spot.
They always do that.
I know, they just...
Oh, what? That does that much damage?
What killed you? I looked away.
His fucking fireballs.
Well, are we going to kill this bird?
Yes, now he has to die.
I'm saying, like, motherfucker, stop me from... Bro! Spawned in again. I'm not even... It's not even nighttime yet. Please.
I'm still loading. Uh,
God. Get out of here, please.
oh no. What was that bleed damage you did to him?
Amazing.
Oh, there's
I'm just not able to hit them all.
I'm dead. Get up! No, what killed me? He hit me once. What?
I don't even know what hit you.
Oh, I got my runes at least, yeah.
Good. God, I need to get my fucking orders. I'm dead? No, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Why
No.
is he spawning in like I...
Oh, my other friend.
Stop attacking, damn.
Literally, though.
I just can't hit him.
He's gonna yell again. Oh,
I thought he was. Wow. So, where is he?
behind you. Yeah. What? Don't let those hit you. They do half health.
One?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Damn. Okay, well, I can't do this anymore. I have to go and get my shit before someone takes it.
Yeah.
And this guy left my gate open. Fuck off, really?
You asshole.
Oh, good.
I swear if
Even
we
if it's funny.
spawn on him again. If we spawn on this guy again. Why is he even spawning? It's daytime. Fuck. He's damn, I don't got golden bolts. I would have just shotgunned him. No, he's definitely still here because the merchant isn't. Not gonna move though. Hmm. auto sync was disabled on the server? What does that mean? I guess I'll be back.
Oh, sorry. I'm back. That took a while. Which character are you using, dude? Are you able to watch my chats? No, I was gone. Sorry. I'm using the one that's not named Boat or Trash. So is this guy just gonna permanently spawn whenever we just like go exit? Oh, is Roy not here? Man. Yeah, why is it cheap? Ground floor door. Doesn't leave with the ground floor. That's alright. No worries, it's okay. No, he's my friend. Oh my god! Is he gonna attack Roy? Oh god. keeps moving. I can't hit him without also getting hit. That was decent damage. Fuck off. God. This boss is looking different to another's because I'm watching this one first time. Alright, there we go. Camera, please. I'm getting dizzy from this camera, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I can hear me doing damage to it, but it's not doing anything. Oh. Shit. That's that. No! Roy, get out of there! Okay, good. It doesn't seem like he's gonna attack him. Hopefully.
I'm back.
I died.
I see that. Yeah.
It looks like
Asshole.
it's glitched because no matter when we come out, it's always there.
Wait, so did he kill me again?
I don't know. Do you have your runes?
No. Oh. Okay, good. Oof, now I do. That means he just has to die.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't equip them. I need to do a tactical retreat. Why can that curve like that? Mine's never does that. Why can yours do that? Fuck you.
He is in fact giving us trouble.
He
But
shouldn't.
that's only because he's scaled incorrectly.
Yeah. He's not skilled at Caled level. He's like end game level.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 600 F. Oh no, 131.
You gonna summon someone?
Yeah, I was
it's the
gonna summon the divine bird guy we got. I guess I just summon this guy. Do I have any fucking like FP boosting items? Nope.
Nope.
I'm 11 FP short from that guy.
What's your mindset at?
16.
I could probably summon him.
Well, let's see. I guess I'll just hit the grace, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let me in. I bet that looked insane on your screen.
Yeah, you got hit. You sat down, stood up, sat down, and then you got
Yeah,
hit,
I got
died.
tip money. Yeah, ma. Yeah. I'm done with you.
This don't look like Motor Heart to you?
Yeah. You don't even have sleep paralysis like he does. Okay, hold on. Change
Yes, my
it.
friend also streams. His at is Roy OP.
Oh. Were they asking?
Yeah.
Good. Do we not have an Hmm. Let me see something. Do we have like a holy weapon I can use against him? I mean, I have like no faith. But...
Yeah.
Oh,
I
we
have
got the
8.
bubble.
The bubble?
Yeah, we got Envoy's Great Horn. That is a holy spell. Or Ash of War. Would have to
Alright.
upgrade it. Oh wait, we have golden epitaph. Hold on.
Yeah.
If we have that, damn sure might have to go backpack for a second. Right? Oh, but I have flames of the red mane. Look.
Where's the bubble?
The horn, it's a colossal weapon. Where like the dragon claw is at.
I guess I don't have it.
Wait, what is golden apple? Oh, okay. No, yeah, golden apple is really good. I buffed us so we do more damage against those who live in death. Damn, I don't want to get rid of my... This... Wait, actually... And then I stack it with this. Wait, did he even give it to you? I feel like...
I think so.
Oh, they overwrite each other. I guess that buff doesn't count. Oh well, we still do more damage against him now. And I got these guys. I'm sure they won't do much. I'm hoping they're the explodey ones.
Wow. Now I wish we had that timing from when we did the smoke.
I don't know what you summoned. I didn't see it. Or I don't see it.
Horned Warrior Ornus. I don't see yours either.
Oh, I have 3 soldier jars. Stop moving, you fuck.
He doesn't have a health bar for me. Well, a big one anyways.
Yep,
Shit.
my jars blew up and did no damage. Oh yeah, now I'm hurting him.
That's fast.
You're so lucky. You're such a bitch. He staggered me so I couldn't escape and then just blew me up.
Oh my god. Wait, he also has Death Blight?
Yes, when he yells.
I never knew. Oh, nice.
Oh,
He got
nice.
staggered.
Your invisible guy staggered him, and Val's trying to throw
he's doing-
shit at you.
Where's Val?
Oh,
The death. The HP is insane.
he has half health right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see Val. Never mind. No!
Why they curve like that? Jeez.
Val is going to be the death of me next time.
Watch out. Oh, you might be dead.
I dodged without looking, and it still didn't dodge me.
Damn, he bounced you like... Oh! What?
Val. Oh god! If he doesn't get out of my fucking face.
What? That goes through the wall. Oh my god.
good game.
You missed what happened. You literally clipped under the
Die!
floor on my screen.
Oh, did I really? That's funny.
Yes,
Where is he?
behind the shack.
Oh my god.
What is he attacking?
I don't know, but I'm changing strategies.
Fucking dead Val at the crease.
Does the healing spell hurt
Hurt them? No, it doesn't. That only works on those fucking drafted hands, guys.
Oh, come on.
He's not gonna let you
He
get it off.
He won't let me do anything. Like, that's why this enemy fucking sucks, because you just can't do anything.
You're
Like, it would just not stop attacking. For anything.
no. Yeah.
And then I get stunned on the horse for 5,000 years.
Okay, well, he's dead now. I have his number. I'm just gonna sit
Oh.
all the way back and fucking shoot him. He did the most bitchiest move to me. He dove at me and it knocks you down and you can't fucking like mash B to like roll out. And then he just flew at me and did the fucking explosion attack.
Oh my god.
That's such a
Yeah,
cheap
I'm
ass
gonna-
combo.
I'm gonna talk to Roderica and get my thing leveled up, because that was actually really good.
Yeah, your guy was staggering him.
Oh, I need runes!
I'm still loading. Fuck.
Why is it taking forever to load now?
I think because of this guy glitching.
Maybe. Oh no, it took forever before we even knew he was an issue.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh my god, did you touch Grace?
No, I did not.
Ugh, then why?
It's probably just because I
Ugh!
spawned in. Damn, you can summon that guy? Fuck.
Dude, I hate this. Fix this fucking thing already, damn.
Oh,
Someone's at rang my doorbell.
she's still broken? Damn.
So it seems. Apparently someone rang my doorbell.
Strange.
Who's this? Someone delivered a package, maybe?
Did you order something?
No, my mom probably did. I'll be right there to grab it. I just need to talk to Roderica first.
Oh, sorry. Killing ads. Piss me off.
Damn, I need a ghost glove for 6. Are you serious?
Fuck.
Hmm.
Fuck. Bitch.
Are you fighting it or something?
No, I'm waiting, but I'm killing all the fucking annoying things over here that kept stealing my camera. Fucking room bear. Alright,
Alright, let me go ahead and get this thing real quick.
Alright. Hmm. Oh. What? An error occurred.
Huh? I just got back to my damn computer.
It fucking kicked me out.
Of course.
Make sure it's not like my.
I lost all my runes, so I can't even use the runes that I needed to level this up. Bullshit. I opened the room again.
All right.
And the guy is Max.
Nice.
He's
Probably
version
gonna
get
help a
fucked
lot.
up.
Now, let's get sweet.
Greetings. Are you here for spirit?
Who can I like?
Ah. Wow, that's really expensive for no reason.
Just for the
Crystal
memes.
sword.
Just for the memes, I'm gonna max out the soul jars. It says they
Yeah, you
blow up
can.
on impact. Imagine if they just do like big, just like unblockable damage to things.
That would be nice.
Like
Me with
just
my
three
Val army.
suicide vows. I can love. Oh wait, I have Amon. Can I use him?
Are you ready to have DB killed?
DB killed.
I can give him the Weather Dagger. He has a
Nice.
spell that I haven't bought yet, though, so I might leave him alone for a bit.
Wait,
Ah,
which spell? Is he? Oh. I bought both of his spells.
I didn't. I'm missing one. But I assume you get his bell bearing anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Warren has all this shit. Damn. I forgot about that. Poison actually be good.
May the golden orb.
The golden autumn.
Alright, I'm gonna touch Grace.
Oh. Damn. A different bow I can use.
He's dead.
Do nuts.
She's not saying anything. Bow. But yeah, I'm gonna fuck off.
Yeah. I'm kind of tired, guys. I'm gonna go to bed now. Hour later. That 14:07 is streaming UFO 50. Like, I called it so bad. I knew that's what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Don't lie to me like that. Just say you don't want to play.
Well, I mean, the second worst thing is not saying anything at all.
Yeah. Like, Nyan and Rue. Oh, fuck.
I am near about to disband the group chat and then be like, have everybody be like, where's the Lethal Company group chat? And
Yeah.
not say anything.
Seriously. No one said anything but me and you. I hope it gave you the buff. Yes, it did. Okay, good. Fuck you. Fuck you. And you know what? I'm
Alright,
gonna
got it.
summon these ass. Uh-oh.
Run!
Ooh, almost ran off the cliff.
Yeah, they do about like a third of your health.
Yeah.
3 foot seven. Maybe like 3 seconds actually.
Good. Stuck behind the shack. He keeps trying to get your summon.
I know. My summon does too much damage. Oh. Yeah.
Good.
Fuck off. Game, please. Thank you.
I see you over there, Val. You not slick.
I was wondering what did hit my back. Oh, it was him, of course. Oh, what do you mean I got hit
Die.
by that? Yeah, steal some runes again, asshole. I dare you. No. You know, fuck out of here already.
He would have that.
Wow, he... Of course. Anyways, back to what we were supposed to be doing from the very beginning.
Like, damn. Random ad.
Get out of here. I wasn't even concerned about you. I was thinking, oh, maybe let's fight this guy. But that was it. I didn't act on it for a reason.
Yeah. Because they're always
I knew it
scaled
happened.
improperly. Your summon plus golden epitaph fucked them up.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gave the
Summon was
buff
golden
to your
epitaph.
summon. If it did, that's cool.
That would be cool. But I don't think so.
And I was just fucking shooting him in the face with golden arrows because he's a little bitch.
Malfoy and Dragon Greaves. Interesting.
And all the money I lost, I got back, basically.
Yeah. I even have time to drink my thing. That's how fast it was. I was spamming to try and drink it, but nope. Let's just get you stun locked on the horse. Because this is Elden Ring, and we don't know how to do anything else other than stun lock you on the damn horse. Speaking of which. You did not just do all that damage to me, dude.
Nah, you're not doing that. You're not doing all of that. There was anything on that side?
No.
Okay.
Here, why don't I help you off, asshole? Was that you screaming?
Yeah. Oh, did it cut out?
Yeah, I was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. I hope the stream picked it up. Wee wee.
The crazy thing is that you don't need a horse for this, even though it looks like an impossible jump.
You would not be able to do this in real life.
No. Or ride a horse here?
That plus
Move!
jump. This fucking wolf blocking the whole path.
Oh my god. Poppy, move! My friend has a dog named Poppy, and he's always like, because she'd be standing in the way.
Oh my god, that's my dog. One time I was just like, fucking move, and I literally like pushed him with my leg. He did the typical dog thing of like side-eye me and just go, I said, don't f at me, move. What the fuck? I'm trying to fucking get out the bathroom. You're in the fucking way.
Why are you waiting in front of the bathroom door?
Yes.
God. Oh wait, we don't have any other ones aside from Reichardt's Great Run, right?
Yeah, nope. Oh, let me see
Yeah.
what this fucking Radon remembrance gives. More options. Junk. Use it for money.
Junk? Same with the sunflower. Just jump.
Yep.
Straight up jump.
Giant rat ashes and dragon tower shield is what he gives.
That's funny. Why you?
Time for fun?
Why must these enemies be jump scares today? What's going on?
Oh god. Hey, yeah, burn.
Like that, dude.
Yeah, you don't like it when it's done to you, is it?
I hate blood loss. Truly, I do. I'm strike you, dude.
Time to
3,
fall.
2, 1.
What? What do
Whoops.
you land on? The like very tip of the platform.
Yeah, the one thing that would not allow me to, you know, go backwards, or like for some reason in this tower it won't let me like slip off.
Of course.
But in every other circumstance in Elden Ring, if it's a fall that will kill me, it will let me slip off.
I forgot. Do you just walk off onto this? I think you do, right?
I roll. Oh,
Well, it finally happened to you.
well, I mean, I'm not gonna try to blame you, but you were kind of in the way, so I had to overshoot it.
Yeah, you just walk off onto it.
Yeah, I mean, I walk off, I roll. It's just not.
Every
that
time
much,
I do
like,
the roll,
movement.
that happens to me, so I just stop.
No. Yeah, usually the roll for me is fine. I was a little surprised actually because it looked like I
Hey,
landed
you
just
did
fine.
make it, and then the game pushed you off the ledge. It was
Yeah,
like,
the game
no.
dragged me off. It dragged me off. Ah, see, there it is. There's the tug.
Anything on this side? I don't.
Game? Thanks.
No, okay. Nothing on this side.
Oh, it did it again. Okay, I guess I do just walk off.
Yeah.
Huh. Hello.
Hello.
There's never anything on that side. It's just
Yeah. I'm going to push you off. Good.
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh
waiting.
shit, wait. Oh wait, no, it should, so why did I lose my runes twice? Strange.
I am known as D.
Oh shit.
I just thought about it. Maybe I'll try double daggers with bleed and just like super DPS.
Mario Kart double daggers?
Yes.
Honestly, I didn't think I would make that, but I did. And lines with that he did. Suck it up like mine is rich. Secrets that it ain't. Now he's got superpowers.
And
Whew!
he made it.
Yep. Sweat draw. Sweat frog, sweat drop.
Huh.
And sweat draw. Game! Boobas, 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 boobas,
And they're dead. Dude, stop giving smithing stone 1s in this area. What the fuck?
My mom asked me if I got the box that was dropped off. Yes.
Oh, good thing you got it.
Yep.
Good. I achieved what I wanted.
Death.
No, you'll hopefully see.
I'm actually not sure where to fall from here. I assume it's right here.
You don't see my rainbow stones?
Oh, oh, that's what that is. Well, either way, I knew I needed to fall there, but why doesn't this fall kill you?
Was it
Meanwhile,
floating
most
in the air
babies
for
fall-
you?
No, it was on the edge. It was just orange, and it looked like every other light that's in here.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just gonna send this a regular light.
Yes. Meanwhile, every baby fall kills you. Or you take fall damage. What? He phased through that lamp. I don't know if you saw that.
Alright, I saw that.
Alright, what nonsense is waiting?
God. Well,
Ah. Watch him be
how
super
about you?
skilled.
no, you.
Blow up. Blow up. Blow him up.
You get stabbed.
Nice try.
What? He was in the stanky leg.
He was.
Did you do that?
Yeah, that was my blood flame.
Okay.
Damn, he gets fucking elbow dropped by the charts. Oh, you want to block?
They didn't blow up on him?
I think they'll only blow up if he hits them and like kills them.
Oh, I
But-
see.
But he just doesn't know what to do. I'm just memeing on him because I know he's so weak.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope. The pot blocked it. He has 1 HP.
Grovel.
Good job, Pots.
Yes, good job, Potts. Hotus!
Let's see what junk we get. Junk?
Not bad.
Junk ahead. Why didn't it take you? Or take me with you? What the heck?
Niantic has sold Pokemon Go along with its entire game business for $3.5 billion. It was acquired by Scopely, the makers of Monopoly Go. I
Oh,
don't
boy.
believe this. What?
If they acquired it, that's hilarious.
Twitch has unbanned Smash Bros. Pro Zero after 5 years. Streamer went from 400 pounds to 188 and is now a bodybuilder.
Damn.
That does not look like him.
I remember he used to be kind of fat too.
This does not look like him. What is this fake news? It's probably not fake, but still. It's from a Twitter account named Dextero, and I don't know their
Yeah,
shit.
they're hit or miss with their fucking reports.
Yeah.
They like to fucking report fake. That does not look like him.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
But
that's
Jesus, that dude is hairy. Ugh.
yeah, ew. And he has such a small stomach. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's the weird part. Like his top looks really
His top looks
big, and then
normal,
the bottom is
and the bottom is just tiny.
also where his glasses at.
Yeah. Being a bodybuilder doesn't mean no glasses.
All right, let's go to. Why did you stay up till 3 a.m. playing Monster Hunter Wilds when you know you have work at 6 a.m.? Me. Sheer carelessness. Only I am to blame. My spirit of adventure got the better of me. Okay. This is Val character from Monster Hunter Wilds.
Of course.
Alright, I'm not gonna do these other areas because they annoy me, so but they probably have the things that we seek, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go here.
Other wall phantom tree?
Yeah. The one like by the gargoyles and
Yeah.
um the gargoyle on one end and the stupid like tree sentinels on the other end. Good
Yep.
lord.
They're evil for that.
They are like, oh, I just got out of danger. Yeesh. That was so much, right? Boom. Did we ever go to this church? I wonder.
No.
We didn't because Snow Witch Robe is here.
No. 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 Oh, yeah.
Seems like junk.
Is spring
Oh, yeah.
drop distance finished? Dave? Did you finish those last 6?
Oh yeah, everything's 100%. Well,
Good.
it's 100% complete from Steam's point of view.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say that.
It's impregnate.
She can't even move her legs. That's how bad. Never mind.
Made my
Which is crazy to think about. That they all just can't move their legs. All the Norix just can't use their legs for some reason.
like, why do they have them then?
Hmm.
I made my friend laugh yesterday because we were fighting a boss or something. I forgot what. I think it was like a tough
Ooh.
enemy. And they were about to kill him, and I just came up from behind it and blew its back out and killed it. And I just said, I blew his fucking back out.
Back shots. Okay.
Why do they always attack like that? I hate that.
Where they curve around, they think you're going. You think they're going one way, but they go the other way.
Yes.
I don't know, but it's dead.
Hey.
What hit me? Did it try to take me down with it?
What?
Is that what happened?
What?
Loser.
Oh,
ass
is
crap.
there a
Wow.
tank down here?
Please let there be. This is the best place for it. Probably gonna have to touch the gray so I spawn here.
Yeah, that's fine. Good.
Just in case I die.
Boom, boom. Yeah, I know. Splash.
Flash. Slugs.
Light.
No more.
This fucking marionette chasing you.
Ugh. Oh man, the game is lagging.
Oh yeah, oof. Oof, this is bad.
Nice. Thank you for killing him. He almost got me.
Yeah. He chased you all the way.
Yep. Oh, every time I turn the camera.
Why is
one
it
way,
so laggy over here? I'm dead. Yep.
you
Goodbye.
died? Oh, I thought I could save you, I guess, but
Doesn't matter. Let me get my pizza. I'll be back.
okay. What type?
Just playing.
What is that? Oh. Get... First of all, who the hell do you think you are? Oh my lord. Okay, game. Uh-oh. That was almost really bad for me. So it just didn't let me up the thing the first time? What? Game. You can go away. Dies. Die then. Dead. You can die. So, ooh, gold item. Oh, Val? Goodbye. Oh,
There we go. Back with food. Are you bullying a Val?
Yep.
Good. No, it's not UFO 50. I don't want to play.
Yep.
Oh,
What is this? Lulling branch. Slowly builds up sleep while gradually restoring FP, huh?
oh, cool.
I would love to throw a hefty furnace pot at him. I would love to do that.
Just burn his ass.
Yep. Eternal sleep pot. No, I wouldn't want to give that to Val because he'd like that.
True.
Wait, I just realized we already have the gavel of Paimon.
We got it again.
Yeah, I have 2 of them.
Hmm. You're right. We did buy it.
What a shame. I love how Christmas Val is always going to be Christmas Val no matter what. The Albanoric, the red and green one. It's
Yeah.
always red and green. And these wolves are always like a teal blue. Is that really what you want? You want to be killed by me? What is that? Is that a bird? Oh, that's a bird. I see. I wish I were a bird. Alright, what's his gold item? Clean Rot Knight Finlay and Blood Flame Blade.
Oh,
Those are
wow.
2 pretty good things.
Finally, actually.
Mm,
You can finally put it on one of my weapons.
yeah. I think I'm looking directly at the cause of lag.
Oh? Is it a big fucking enemy?
It's a big bird, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, and he can't move? Or is he just making me think that he can't move?
He's fucking psyching you out.
Nope, he can't move.
Good.
Please fix the game once you die. Yes, the game has been fixed. Oh, thank the Lord.
Yeah,
And then
because
hands
that
come out of
lag was
nowhere.
crazy.
Yeah, it was preventing me from making certain jumps, and I did not like that, so it needed to go. Isn't there another way out of here? I think there was an area that I missed, but that's okay. I'll come back.
Oh shit, I knew that one. Thanks, Snapple.
What'd they say?
Says Antarctica is the coldest, driest, windiest, highest continent on the earth. Yeah.
I pressed the dodge button like twice, game, and nothing came out.
Mmm.
I don't know what else to say.
Eating
The
inputs.
recording is right there.
The proof is there.
Oh well, it doesn't make a difference to me because I want to go back to where I was. So,
Whoa. Oh, you died?
nothing. Yeah.
No, because when you died and were like spawning in, the world flickered black. So I was like, whoa.
Oh, I see. I briefly killed the world, it would seem. Val is chasing after me. Okay. See you later, Val. See ya.
Joker was sold out.
The movie?
No. The character.
Oh,
Huh.
when the enemies take too much money from you.
Yep.
Oh, nice. An enemy I killed later dropped an item when he didn't before.
Fun.
I love it when it happens. Oh, is there not another way to go? Oh, I didn't miss anything. Cool. Good.
Yep. Just have one more slice to, and now getting back on.
How many slices did you eat?
2.
Yeah. Are they big ones or small ones?
They're big ones.
Hmm.
It's just I always eat 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can also eat like about three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Three big ones.
And if I'm really hungry, I can eat 4 of them.
Mm. Just make sure to drink a lot of water. I always do that when I'm eating
Yeah.
pizza. Because
I usually drink like my drink and then I'll drink like my bottle of water right after.
yeah, my body is like, please, water, please. Mm.
Yeah, let me get the last slice. I'll be back.
Okay. Die, punk ass bitch. And then you, preventing me from dodging correctly. Look at the bar fighting. Did it hit or did it go straight past them? Huh. Interesting. Very interesting.
All right, I'm back.
Ooh.
Ooh. Mongrel tarnished. I'm guessing you're waiting at the boss.
Yeah. I feel like I could body it, but I just wanted to wait for you regardless.
Wood. Where do I fucking jump from here? Oh, I was supposed to go on this
What,
branch.
under the spiral? Oh, yeah.
Fucking stupid shit. Don't you even, game. Yeah, nice try. It tried to push me down the slope. Lightning Great Bolt. Oh, we got a perfumer. Nice.
Like a perfume bottle or?
No, summon.
Oh, yeah. The summon, yeah.
Uh, uh, uh. That was alright. Now just cross. Go here onto the Val's body, who's fucking face down, ass up. He really is. What the fuck? Do you see this?
Let me click on your stream.
He really is just face down, ass up.
Oh, yeah.
Do I have the emote? Oh wait.
Dejection?
I think as soon as I walk into, oh,
You can do dejection. What the
Damn.
fuck? Why is his body moving without you doing it?
You saw that, right?
Yeah, what the hell?
He was like fucking spinning. He was meat spinning. Oh, I missed this.
Did you get the gold item?
Now I did.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. It's like something's crawling on me, but there isn't.
Mood. Let's look at the delay between the stream and where you'll actually end up.
Oh.
Because I'll see you fall down here, but I'll still see you trying to like platform down in the stream. Yeah, alright, you fell just down now, and then yeah, it took you a while in the stream. Okay.
Damn. Anything in this corner? Oh. Apostle Lord.
Ooh, are you gonna input read?
Yep.
He perfectly dodged that. Let the music play again. What are you dodging, asshole?
Oops.
How was he dodging that?
I used that twice by accident. I could do that too, bro. Not special. Oh, he's lucky it went through him. You're bonking him, nice.
What? I pressed dodge like 20 times.
I might be dead from this. Ooh! Oh, they didn't blow up on him. Because he knocked them away.
Wow, this guy just can't hit for shit, huh? When you're up in his ass. Omochiraru? No. Orochimaru. I said Omochiraru instead.
You want to know what the best part about that was?
What happened?
I couldn't use R1.
Really?
Yeah, it was bugged for me for a second.
Damn.
I was like, why can't I attack? So I just had to use magic.
Well, it worked out.
Well, let me put Blood Flame Blade on. I'm almost wondering maybe I should do poison. Just pure DPS.
Hmm. Can you put it on like the difference? No, you can't because you have to swap them out.
Yeah. I know there's a mod that lets it apply to both weapons or some shit like that. Like it doesn't go away, but I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I guess get rid of. Maybe I'll just get Poison Mist then. Is that an incantation or a spell though? Oh no, it's the incant. But yeah, that's a pretty big radius too. This is gonna be deadly though. Just a bunch of blood loss. Much runes. Oh fuck. I have a decent amount.
Wait, did I even equip the thing that I need to equip? No.
Rip. Wait, is this right cards that we're at? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Whoa.
I
No
need-
wonder the game lag.
I
Oh
need
man,
to,
please don't.
Yeah, if you look back at the cave, the lag comes back. So
Because the fucking bird.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
I need to
Alright,
put
Taylor
a
lost race again.
plugin on my server so I can look at people's inventories when they're offline. Because I don't trust people.
Hmm.
Wham. Damn. Well, we got one great room. We just need one more.
Yeah. Maybe it is someone in the DLC, but like where?
I don't even know where it would.
No. What's this one do again?
HP upon defeating enemies.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah.
You still need 2 to enter here, right?
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
Unless we changed it to just one.
I feel like it's still 2, but yeah, it's 2.
Damn.
Well, I mean, there's a Riza side tomb and a Riza hero's grave.
That's true. There's also just all of Mount Gelmir.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ugh. Wait, where'd you
so
warp
tired.
to now?
I went to the Capital Rampart,
Oh,
the grace right before the inside of the Capital.
hey, is Ippy.
I got a full night's sleep too.
Damn.
Got 7 and some hour or 7.5 hours, I think. According to Pokemon Sleep, I went to bed at 12:52. Not bad for me.
True. Better than 3 in the morning.
Better than 5.
True. Open.
Oh, I see. It's further down.
Oh yeah, these are the
Where's
ones
this
that are
one?
normally being camped by a rune bear.
Yep. Did my mom get home? I guess it is 6 o'clock. Why'd I hear the door so clearly?
Damn.
Ansbach Manchets.
Oh. Why do we always get his set?
Ansbach? Or... Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny thing is,
You-
I saw that you could cheese him.
I bet.
Well, like, besides what we do when he, when he used to actually spawn in his vanilla spot. And we just fucking beat on his ass before he finishes. Apparently you can like
That was so funny.
you can jump into a certain spot and then line
Make
up
him jump into it.
line up a sleep pot and just throw them at him and then just poison him.
Huh.
He just dies.
Ah.
Oh, you want to do this one first?
Yeah, I do, but that was really funny. This guy was just running in to nothing.
Good.
He was just running at nothing and attacking it. In your guts, not once, but twice.
That's Val.
Yep.
Speaking
Oh,
of,
because there is an invisible enemy over here. That's why. I was wondering where he was running, like, into.
speaking of Val, said knock knock. Fuck you, Val.
Finish your crate.
I'm tired, Val. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I need to stream UFO 50, but I'm tired. Oh, it's this one.
No, never mind. All right.
I
Let's get out of here.
avoided it. Yeah. I've had a feeling too because I saw the window we walked by and I was like,
I didn't see the window at all. If I had seen the window, I'd been like, sus.
I did fall asleep for 2 hours, LOL, before the stream, I mean, but still, you proved my point. I'm tired, I need to sleep for UFO 50. You literally saw my message. I know you did, because you were on your phone.
God, do I have it in me to do this dungeon? Or am I going to play Elden Ring sleepy? Because there are many times where I do that. Play Elden Ring sleepy.
Same.
And I just end up running into a wall.
Aw. Fucking pillars.
No
fuck
speed
me.
was gained. Yeah.
Space. Oh, space. Somehow space. Oh. But I didn't mean that. No. Oh.
The fact that the sword is just bigger than their body. Yikes. Oh yeah, this is what you missed, Roy. By the way, bro, I support streamers with my ideas and designs. I'm an affiliated designer with GFX/Pro. If you can give Discord so I can share some of my ideas and collaborate with you to suggest the best ideas for your channel. Well, if you don't mind, I would like to hear your reviews on my designs if that doesn't bother you. Add me on Discord, Megan Jen, also my Insta Megan _Jensen00. Then I will share you some dope designs. Amazing.
Oh my god.
Come back to me when you can speak English, because I don't think that you're able to get a job by not speaking English.
True.
Not like that. Oh, cool. Alright.
Please get hit.
Sorry, Chance.
Good.
Do we have any of the things that will cause us to go up or down?
I don't think so.
Not a single thing. Wait. Nope.
I'm down. You think
Well,
the
I mean,
blasphemous claw would
no.
work? Oh, I'm dead. Ooh, I need to go down. Somehow I got hit by it.
You said you need to go down?
Yeah. Blasphemous mention? No, Val.
No. It's not working.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think it would work. Oh well.
Because that game is bad. Haha.
I had the Nicholas charm. It wasn't working.
Damn. Damn, that means this is gonna be annoying.
Oh yes.
Elden remembering. Don't tell me he's glitched. Wow. Amazing.
Whoops. Hold on. What happened?
He was glitched and then he unglitched himself.
Oh good. Ah.
Ah, I see. Bro. This one is also coming down.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
Did you almost not make it?
Yeah.
I forget which way to go first. Is it back this way?
It's this way first. This
Are you
way.
sure?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you can miss that. Okay.
Good. And a Val died? Good. One less Val in the world.
Bond's done. James Bond's done.
Good.
Meanwhile, back to these guys, so desperate to try and hit us. It's not happening.
I'm going back down.
Nice. Damn.
Damn.
What do you mean you were going back down? You mean the ladder?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna go back down the other way, but...
Yeah, no. The way they fucking just knocked you off.
Yeah.
Fucking can't tell if I'm lined up. Oof. Look at Val trying to snipe me. Come here, Val. Time for the real Val to go to eat. Yeah, you have another match in 2 hours, bud. What the? What?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, were you spamming Grace?
No, it's just that it got stuck because I died.
LMAO, well about that. Uh, Flaming bot tails got banned. Was that one of the bots in your chat?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, they came in my chat and got banned. I don't know what they said. This hairy bot.
This owl was just shooting at me and then he just died. Good. Deserved.
Cheap viewers. Oh,
Oh yeah, I see cheap viewers on Stream Boo.
oh, they're dead now, kid. You're going to die.
Excellent. I love that. Oh, Val. Wait, before you kill him. Thank you. You deserve that.
Fuck you, Roy. Oh, well, about that, Val's doing the rubbing the fingers together, like in Lethal Company.
Hmm.
XD, yes. Why aren't they killing each other?
Who's they?
The fucking chariots. Cause I
I
had
only see one.
no, but I'm saying the other two on the long way, they were supposed to like run into each other already. Or is it that this needs to go up?
In that case, me, yeah.
Yeah. Chariot, we love them. Yeah.
Oh, this way maybe? No. It's gotta be down.
I'm risking it. Eee. Hooray! Hopefully he doesn't camp us. Okay, good. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, damn, you killed him in 2 hits.
I think it's left first.
Oh no, there's items down here.
Right it is.
Oh, pretty decent. I need to turn that stupid shit off. I don't even know where it's getting those subtitles, but yeah, they just need to go.
Yeah. Ugh.
I thought it was
We
gonna
should-
shoot this way.
No.
I think this one we hit, right?
Yeah.
Now they should die? Question mark.
Wait, no, because
Did the one that we hit before also need to be up?
no, I think that it's supposed to be this way so that it's inconveniencing us, and then they'll hopefully destroy each other.
I think he's stuck. Yeah, he's stuck.
Oh yeah, the other one is stuck. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but it's funny. Yeah, but it needs to go though.
All right. Well, if
Oh.
you want to unstick it.
Wait.
Oh
Explosion?
yeah, I saw it.
This one is just stuck though. He doesn't want to
Oh,
die.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You need to go. You need to go, Otterman Sandwich. You need to stream something that isn't retarded, Val. How about that? I guess I'll touch the grace then.
Yeah.
Should hopefully fix it. I will stream your mom. Okay, buddy. Yeah. I will stream you getting banned live
Hmm.
for cheating.
Oh, cool. He just spawned directly on top of me.
Oh wow.
And then exploded. Hooray. And then this one.
No item though? Oh, there it is.
Explode.
Interesting. That one spawned and exploded.
Huh.
No maiden? No Val? I should just go in your chat later, Val, when you're streaming and troll. But it's not worth it. Do it. I did the other day, but you didn't even notice. So I just left. Really damn, yeah, I fucking wrote in your chat and everything and knocked you and you just didn't notice, so I left. I wasn't gonna watch a shitty bingo match. Ooh. We shall go together. Ah, I see.
Close my eyes. I didn't realize that I got down here.
Oh. Yeah, he hurts.
Okay, well, so do I. And all I have to do is just throw blood at him.
Wait, they can be poisoned too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, he's a rot one. Let's try. Greed. Oh, he's fucked. I am looking at the chat on XSplit all the time and I'm wondering if it doesn't show all the messages sometimes. Interesting that we got that here, Key.
I know.
Well, I don't know, Val.
Um,
Because I was like, what the fuck? There's no way you don't see my message because it was literally right when you started your stream. And you never reacted. I gave you like 10 minutes. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna leave. Anyway, time to die. Yeah, I didn't see it.
yeah, I'm also going to stop. Maybe we can do the Windmill Village next time, but
Yeah.
I might also just look up where the Great Rune is, since this is another episode without it.
True.
And we have the Road Medallion meeting that we can get up here. So,
It must be in the Weeping Peninsula.
yeah. Or the DLC. I mean, there's so many of them. Like, what are
True.
there, like 6 more to get? They can be all over the place.
Dink, dink. Time to sleep well. I
Yeah,
guess
same with me.
I told my friends I would get on Minecraft, but probably not. I don't feel like playing.
Mm.
Goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Unless you
See,
wanted to do something else, but
no, no. I'm good.
I know you're tired.
Yeah. Good night, stream.
Good night.
Ugh. Oh, we're gonna be doing research for game design. That's about it.
Oh.